What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Fix My List, our weekly show which kind of goes through the thought process of going back into lists and making them as competitive as possible. This week we are focusing on Imperium. In previous weeks and in forthcoming ones we switch it around, so we do Chaos Week, we do Aldari, we do Xenos, and we try and switch up who is on it so that different faction experts get to do the armies they're best known for. So this week, Jack and I will be doing some Imperium armies that we play quite often. And on top of that, if you want additional content related to the meta right now, all the wonderful things that are going on, some of the amazing battle reports that we put on, like Chaos Space Marines versus Aldari that's releasing today, check out the War Room in the description below, thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial. And there's a ton of amazing content. Jack every single week does a theory video, which has been very highly praised. So recommend you checking it out and trialing it. Just see
love my about. Theory homies out there.
You really do. Rave reviews, honestly. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this one. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the lists that we went ahead and fixed in this one. What changes you would have made, what things you disagree with, if any. And then please give us a like. And also, please subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps that YouTube algorithm and getting, our more content across the YouTube verses.
Yep, it's a huge help for us to keep doing what we do and to keep bringing you this kind of content. And if you like it, it means a lot to us.
Yeah, it really does. So thank you so much for joining us. And let's go ahead and dive right in here to the first list.
Absolutely. Before I start, I want to just make a note that if...
we have to tell them how to get... access, how to submit things for Fix My List as
well. That's right. If you are in the War Room, you want to go to our Discord channel. You want to go to Fix My List Submissions, and you post your list up. Now, there's nothing stopping you from taking that 3-day free trial and posting a list up in the Fix My List discussion. You know? Nothing to stop you. It's legal. They cannot stop you. They will not take you away for it.
Any War Room membership, whether that is going to be on YouTube, any of the tiers, as well as our own site, the warroom.vhx.tv, will get you access to that channel on Discord. Additionally, if you're also just a subscriber of the podcast on Patreon, you will also get access to the Discord and can submit some lists.
Yep. So, first off, there were a bunch of sisters lists posted, a bunch of copycats out there, a bunch of unoriginal people just copying Jeffrey from Tampa. In fact, wait a minute, no, there was one person who wholly copied Jeffrey's Laudner's list from GW Tampa and posted it up asking, hey, what do you think about this list? Yeah, I think it's good. Like, what do you want from me? Except you missed one thing, you doofus. Jeffrey's list had 2 emulators, one with the Flamers and one with multi-meltas, and your list had 2 with multi-meltas. So I changed that personally. If
fix it.
No, if John were on this one, then I would have definitely put a sisters list on, not Jeffrey's point for point list. Thank you very much, but I would have put a list on. It would have been interesting, potentially something we can do in the future. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into the first one.
The Adeptus Mechanicus.
The Adeptus Mechanicus. All right, so I will go ahead and this is not. Whoops. There we go. It was Gray who submitted this list, not Zach. Zach submitted it like a month ago.
So, AdMech is an army. Warhammer Community released MetaWatch this week, or today, in fact. And AdMech, I think they're like 49, 48%.
Really?
They're up there in just solid mid-tier. And that's surprising to me because this army really lacks a lot of synergy. However, with the points decreases combined with their troops actually being affordable now and reasonable to take, that was a big boost for them in terms of being able to beat the armies around them. So AdMech as a whole aren't in the worst position, certainly not as bad as they were previously. And on top of that, they have a codex on the horizon. So we are going to try and design an AdMech list here that can punch up is what I want to do. Because AdMech, I beat Drukhari with a similar list to this a couple weeks ago. And they can play into any of those bottom half armies pretty well. It's when you're going into the armies above them that it gets a bit trickier. Yeah. So I think we want to... this is a fine list to play against the armies in the mid-tier and below, in my opinion. Like I said, I played something quite similar against the old Drukhari and dominated them, even using the army rule or the detachment rule to some effect, which is surprising because it is horrible. Yes. But...
something I would probably say is that once your army starts hitting that 45 to 49% win rate, right? Mm-hmm. It means that if you play better than your opponent, you will likely win. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, if they're playing Eldar and you're playing Admech, you have to play, maybe a tier or two better, but if you're playing into a 54% win rate army and you're playing a 48% win rate army, if you play better than your opponent, you'll win. That's what we're looking for here. We're not looking for an army that gives you an advantage over those, because that's probably not going to be a thing that happens. But we are looking for an army where if you play well, if you play better than them, you get to win that game.
Yep.
And that's what we're looking for. So what do they have in this army?
Okay, so let's go through the list itself. Obviously, it's the Rad Cohort Detachment. We've got a Tech Priest Dominus, who when he joins the unit gives them a 5 of Pain. Against vehicles in combat, he can do some random mortals, but he's really there for the 5 of Pain. And then he has an Enhancement Master Annihilator, which is Sustained 1, which is very effective on, say, a big Breacher squad, because it works in both Overwatch and also in shooting. And it really helps their kind of inconsistent volume, because it's not always guaranteed you're going to get within that half range for your breachers. So this just pumps up the damage and makes it more consistent, which is nice, especially on a unit that has access to full rerolls to hit. Then we have the Tech Priest Manipulus. He gives lethal hits, and once per game, 4-up invuln, so a little bit of defense. He's the one that went down in points. You can see the Dominus is quite expensive, even though he has an enhancement here. The Manipulus also has an enhancement, the Omni Sterilizer, which is the Dev Wounds Flamer, effectively.
I hear it hits hard.
I'm assuming he has the Torsion Cannon. That's the Flamer that has the flat 2 damage Dev Wounds. But what Omni Sterilizer does is it gives you flat 3 plus D6. So instead of just D6 shots, it's 3 plus D6, which makes it a lot more consistent. And on top of that, you get anti-infantry 2+, which means that Dev Wounds proc on 2+ against infantry. And you also get anti-monster 4+.
Auto hits?
It auto hits because it's a flamer.
That is pretty terrifying.
It does a lot of damage. Fantastic into elite infantry as well.
Great Overwatch piece because it's 18-inch range, right?
No, it is 12.
Okay, well, it's still a great Overwatch piece.
It's still a great Overwatch piece.
You point that in an objective, and you're like, who wants some? Who, in fact, would like some? That guy hits about as hard, maybe a little less hard than the Arcane Vortex Infernal Master guy, who is insane.
Yep, this is one of the strongest things in Admech. It's a fantastic enhancement. You can use it on the Dominus as well, because it adds +3 to every gun you have. So he has a Phosphor Serpenta, so you can give that goes to 4 shots, and then his other weapon, the Vulcanite weapon, goes to 6 shots.
So what exactly does Omni Sterilizer do? I get what happens at the end of everything, but
gives you +3 attacks for each of your guns.
Sick.
Okay. The Manipulus only has 1. The Dominus can take multiple, so it gives him extra value. However,
does it also give you anti-infantry 2+?
Anti-infantry 2+ and anti-monster 4+.
So the Manipulus is the D6 flamer, base is just a D6 flamer with devastating wounds.
Exactly.
But when you add anti and 3 extra guaranteed shots on it, it's like squad dead, squad dead, squad dead.
He is a boss. Now, you can either put him in breachers and have them come in from strategic reserve, which I quite like, just so to make sure he gets into range. The other thing you could do is put him in a Vanguard squad, go out of a transport, contest an objective, and then when your opponent wants to take it back, you're like, okay, Flamer Man, Overwatch, destroy that play.
Stop, desist.
Exactly. So you can kind of, with 2 turns, control a particular space on the board, which is nice. So he's automatic, fantastic unit. Techno-Archaeologist. So the Techno-Archaeologist is a 12-inch aura of you cannot come in from reserve or be repositioned near him.
That's a strong effect.
Very powerful against reserve-heavy armies, GSC, Demons, Grey Knights, all have an ability to come 3.1 away, and you're like, nope, this 45-point character is going to shut that down. And then on top of that, if he joins a unit, they get +1 OC. So your Vanguard unit can be 3 OC, and then if your opponent gets within 3 of them, not a vehicle for sure, and maybe a monster, it's definitely not vehicles, you get -1 OC.
Okay.
So you can have a huge OC swing of +1 OC, -1 OC.
I'm going to pretend that I already knew what Excoriating Emanation was before I just looked it up on my phone.
It's the stealth.
Yeah, I knew that. 100%. Gives the unit stealth. That's dope.
So where it's most seen, and it's not here, is that Corpuscari Priests are a 5-up invuln, 5-up Pain.
1 wound.
1 wound on a bunch of cheap bodies. But if a character's in them, they can be a -1 to wounds,
So -1 to hit, -1 to wound, 5 up, 5. I actually like that. It's good.
It's actually pretty tanky, and you put the Manipulus in there just to force multiple activations in that unit to try and get to the Manipulus.
And then flamer.
Yeah. So I've used this unit in the past. Literally charged it into Mortarion, tied Mortarion up, controlled the objective. He struggled to do anything about it, and then the Manipulus survived.
Are those the Jazz Hands ones?
The Jazz Hands guys.
Okay, the Jazz Hands guys. Just to be on the same page, it's Jazz Hands versus Bonk Stick.
Yep, Bonk Stick is Fulgurite, Corpuscarii or Jazz Hands.
Got it. How many points is a unit of those? Because I am like so close to being sold on -1 to hit, -1 to wound, 5 up, 5 up.
I believe they are 60 points for 5 guys.
For 5, that is dedicated transports. Let's pull them up.
They used to, I think they were 65.
They're 55.
They were 60, went to 55.
You could take them in units of up to 10, I assume?
Yep, so 110 points.
Man, that is just good. In my opinion, that's just good.
It is very annoying to deal with.
What's their guns
The cool thing is, if the Dominus is in that unit, you get a 4-up Phenopain instead of a 5-up.
Poor pardon?
Yeah. Or if the Manipulus is in there, once per game you can pop the 4-up Invuln on them, so they're 4-up Invuln instead of 5-up 5-up.
If who is in there? The Manipulus?
The Manipulus. So you decide between which one you want to put in there.
It's because the Manipulus has a once a game 4-up Invuln?
Yep. So you can just have an extra layer of defense on there depending on the character you choose.
I do like Omni Sterilizer in a unit that also shoots, right? Because their gun isn't insane, but at 12 inches it does work, and it does good work on Overwatch too, which is a big deal.
Yep, and the Manipulus gives lethal hits.
So every 6 is a wound and 2 hits.
Yep.
I have already been sold. In fact, I want that unit in others of my armies. I want to play that unit. Oh. Like, for example, that unit is 185 points. And a unit of 5 rubrics, not to bring everything back to Thousand Suns, but a unit of 5 rubrics plus Infernal Master is 195. Like, it's 10 points more, and you get more guys, more durability, more offense, honestly.
Mm-hmm. So definitely an option, and one that I have played. Moving on, so he has a second Techno-Archaeologist with nothing, just to do the same thing, +1 OC any unit of Vanguard, most likely, or just hang out in your backfield if they don't have indirect fire and screen it the whole game. Then we have 4 units of troops. These are the battle line units. They're important because they synergize with a lot of the additional datasheet rules in AdMech. Usually you want a battle line unit within 6 inches to get some benefit. Breachers, theirs is if the battle line's within 6, they get full rerolls to hit instead of reroll 1s. So 1 unit of Rangers here. Rangers are the pregame moving unit, so they have a scout move, which is really nice because you can get into transport and scout move, but they also have sticky objectives. So you can sticky the objectives on your half of the board very easily, which is fantastic. Then 3 units of Vanguard. Vanguard are the -1 OC if you're within 3 of them, excluding vehicles, I believe. So that's Vanguard. Once again, all battle line. You got 5 Infiltrators. This is just a cheap infiltrating unit. It really hits inconsistently hard in combat. It can kill like a really cheap chaff unit like 5 Witches, but it's not going to do very much against any real unit. It's just something that can get you area denial instantly.
Yeah, it gets a decent number of shots, but not at a high strength or anything. They hit on 4 is kind of garbage.
Yep.
And then in melee, you get Tesla, which are not terrible. They're all right. They have Infiltrators and Stealth, which is pretty dope, but they don't do the, hey, if you're shooting, you're -1 to hit thing that they used to do, which is...
Yep. You got 2 Dune Riders. These are the transports. You can advance and disembark from them, so they're quite nice, and 80 points, pretty reasonable for what you get. They don't have firing deck for some bizarre reason, but that's that. Then you have 2 solo Iron Striders with the Twin Cognis Las Cannon. It's 1 shot. It's super inconsistent, but if it hits, especially with a 6... you're twin linked, so you're likely to get that wound through. And it's decently high AP at AP3. But pretty cheap platform, 50 points for it because it's relatively durable at 7 wounds, T7, 5-up invuln. Then we've got 2 units of Cataphront Breachers. This is the all-star data sheet in the book. It is the one that actually has synergy and power with access to full rerolls. So heavy arc rifles is the main weapon. It's 36-inch range rapid fire. So at 18 inches, it's 4 shots. At 36, it's 2 shots. Strength 8, AP2, flat 3, anti-vehicle 4+. And when you throw in a sustain from Master Annihilator, you can do quite a bit of damage with these guys, which is fantastic. Then, and there's 2 units of them. 1 unit of sterilizers. This is the flamer boys that can come in from reserve. If they hit you, they can potentially do some manipulation of your movement, but it's on a 4-up. It's super inconsistent. I've never pulled it off, so you can't rely on that. 2 units of dragoons. They're similar to Iron Striders in that it's a relatively durable body. They gain stealth natively, but they don't have a gun. They instead have a lance weapon that is okay, if not wildly inconsistent as most of AdMech is. 3 Cerberus Raiders are a cheap skirmisher scout move unit that can score you points and screen. And then the Custodes Assassin is the only way AdMech has access to being able to go back into reserve and come back down. And I think she's pretty automatic for AdMech, since AdMech is generally a tactical army, but can do fixed.
Yeah, I would say the Custodes is basically, and if you're writing an Imperium list, you're writing a 1910 point list, you better have a good reason to dip into those last 90. Like, the Custodes is super good for what she does. She has Vect, which is good when it's good, but, you're really paying for her ability to go up and down, score secondaries, and hold objectives with Lone Operative, and win skirmish fights, which she's not bad at doing. She can also lose them because she's, toughness 4, 4 wounds, and a 4-up invuln, which is the swingiest defensive profile of all time. But she doesn't have stealth. Everyone assumes she has stealth, including people who play with her, but she does not. She's just very good. She's just a very good piece, and if you need help scoring secondaries, she is the way. And Omnissiah Sphinx, I feel like I answered your question ahead of time. So, looking at this, there's a playstyle I've recently thought of for a lot of the armies that have units that, the nice way of putting it, don't do anything, right?
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, right? Like, Votan have a lot of units that don't do anything or are inconsistent at doing things. AdMech have a lot of units that don't do anything or are inconsistent. There's a fair number of armies that do this. But what those armies all got was a huge points decrease, right? Like a big one, in a big way. So I want to try to use that. I don't know if this is the kind of army where we can just say, here's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And can you kill it in time with all the activations and whatnot required to deal with it?
I did try this last week, and turns out Guard can.
Yes, Guard do shoot very hard.
Guard can, but there are a lot of armies that'll struggle into it.
Like, Eldar actually does struggle to kill just a lot of nonsense.
We just put Max Skitarii on the board.
Well, I'm not even saying like Max Skitarii, just like some units of Dragoons, some units of Jazz Hand Fellas, some units of, guys in transports, and then the Cataphrons behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's just annoying enough to kill that your opponent can't. Right? Like, what is the Eldar player going to do? They're going to shoot a transport to death with their big unit of Wraith Guard every turn?
Yep, and pretty much.
You're fine.
And then they're going to Night Spinner you.
But you get 3-ups on your Vanguard, right? They have a 4-up armor save?
Yep, they went to a 4-up armor.
Yeah, so the Vanguard spill out onto an objective, they Night Spinner you, kill 4. We're chilling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I do think that overloading their ability to activate might be a way to help solve a lot of these more powerful armies that still have power but have fewer units because they got points increases.
The first question you need to decide when building an AdMech list, is it 12 Breachers or is it 18? This is by far the best data sheet, and it's not even close in this army. So if you go for 3, then you are going to try and actually kill their key damage dealers with yours, and then the rest of your stuff just survives on objectives and does nonsense. But the question is, how much damage do you want to come out of this AdMech list? If you want the most damage AdMech can do, you go for 18 Breachers.
Right.
If you want a consistent amount of damage, but not overwhelming, it's 12 of them.
Is it all heavy arc rifles with hydraulic claws?
Yeah, the other weapon is anti-infantry, which AdMech don't need help with.
No. Well, they do, but they need more help with anti-vehicle.
Yeah. So, it is the heavy arc rifle.
For sure. Okay, sweet. What direction do you lean?
So, I have tried all the different styles. I think 2 is bare minimum. Personally, I lean towards a 3rd if we want to punch up with this army.
Do we want to just slot that in here and build around it?
I really think we probably should.
Sweet. Okay, so we will need to find room for it, but that is totally fine. Realistically, what you do when you're building a list like this is if you decide on your archetype, right, which you have, which is 3 units of Cataphron Breachers, and then support, you don't add them in and then finagle the rest of the list. You start over. Mm-hmm. You put them in to start with, and then you build the list around them. Because otherwise what you get is basically a list with 2 Cataphron Breachers where a third is just crowbarred in and doesn't really fit. You always, if you are deciding on a new archetype, what you do is you delete the whole list and you start over from just Cataphron Breachers. From whatever the core of the archetype is, which in this case is 3 units of Cataphron Breachers. Do you think that's the thing we should do here?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we should do.
Sweet. So we're going to just take everything. Oopsie daisy. We're just going to take everything and put them over to the side. And they can sit there until we, thinking about what they've done, until we get back to them.
The Custodes is definitely staying in.
Yeah, the Custodes is here. She's chilling. Okay, what characters do we want? It's like the formatting is going to be a little odd for a bit, but that's okay. What characters do we want here?
So, first of all, the Dominus, I think he's just too expensive for what you get. I would rather the lethal hits and the once per game 4-up invuln for a lot less points, because the Manipulus is 55 points now, and the Dominus stayed at 75. So there's a 20-point difference between them. I think you save the 20 points, and you just do double Manipulus. You keep the enhancement, because I think it's worth it. But
what does the enhancement do again?
It's a sustained 1. It's a 35-point upgrade. You get sustained 1 shooting combat on a unit that has full rerolls to hit and has lethal hits. It really just helps the consistency of the damage, I have found.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. So let me swap that out. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Omnissiah Sphinx, no problem. You could not have known I was about to answer your question ahead of time. Okay, so we've got that guy in. Let me get you a current running total. What are we doing with the Techno-Archaeologists?
All right, the one with the stealth gone. That's too expensive.
Sad. It probably... I mean, do we want to try to take a Manipulus and put him in Jazz Hand, fellas, or are we not?
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. Well, that is something we could run.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, what goes in the third unit? Is there a character in the third unit yet, even?
So this guy can be solo or go with Vanguard. I'm fine keeping the other Techno-Archaeologist because it is a good tech piece. And I imagine if you're running 2 of them, you probably are in a meta with a bunch of armies that have the 3.1 away, and this really helps shut that down. So let's keep the one guy.
Yep. Okay, I'm just going to get you a point total. It's just going to be a little interesting.
Next thing we're going to do is add Battle Line, because Battle Line is how the Breachers access the full rerolls, and we need that. I'm going to go for a different configuration, though, here.
Yep. So this currently, right, the Custodes, 3 units of Breachers, these 3 characters, is 1170.
Yep.
Okay. So what do we got for Battle Line?
Let's grab 2 units of Rangers.
You like the Rangers?
I really love sticky objectives. I think it's a fantastic rule. I also really like the scout move. So, for 10 more points, I think it's totally reasonable. We're not going to put the upgrades on here, but you take 1 of the arc rifle, 1 plasma, 1 transuranic arquebus, the omnispecs to ignore cover, take all that stuff. Okay. And the techno archaeologist pistol, or whatever it's called, the archaeotech pistol.
Yep. So we are at 1350.
All right, we're going to add 1 Vanguard squad.
Sounds good. Let's just grab one of those and put it over here.
Okay. This is our opponent put 20 Necron warriors on the center objective. -1 OC or 20 OC. It's going to be fine. Or we have the Techno-Archaeologist in that matchup inside the unit, so it's 30 OC, -1 OC. We just make sure that doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and add... I like the Taraxi Skystalkers, and it's because it's the only unit in this book that has the grenade keyword. And grenades is very important for some of these really durable units that you need to help finish off.
Even just 1. It's really good for the Avatar, the Incarns, especially. Things like Redemptors.
Yep. And on top of that, it also has the shoot and scoot ability. So it can come in from reserve, shoot something, and move 6 inches. Or if it ends wholly within battle line, it can move its normal move.
So Skystalkers are 65.
Yep, slightly cheaper.
Okay.
I really like 2 of these units. They're also just mission play as needed.
Sure. So let's add a second. And that brings us to 1560 after 1 squad of Vanguard, 2 Skystalkers.
Okay. I like Iron Striders for their annoying-ish durability. So let's go ahead and grab 3 solo ones. They're 50 points each.
Sounds good. And we're thinking the twin Cognos las cannons.
Yeah.
Still?
It can still just do a bunch of random damage. You could roll a 6 to hit and it's boxcars, and then get that strength 12 reroll wounds. Just offers a high strength profile, and it's relatively annoying for your opponent to split fire and try and kill all this nonsense.
How do we feel about Sidonian Dragoons?
Okay, I also like them for a similar reason, is that they're just relatively annoying to kill.
They are pretty damn annoying to kill.
What are we sitting at points-wise before we add them?
Well, we don't have as many as I would like. We have 290 points left.
Okay, let's go ahead and grab 2 of them.
So 1 unit of 2?
No, one.
2 units of 1.
Yep, 2 solo units. I tried the 2-man units. It is more defensive, and it's good for advance and charge tie-up plays, but 1 honestly is 2. Most things that you're charging into aren't going to kill the 1, so let's just save the points.
Yep. Okay. So 2 solo Sidonian Dragoons. The Goon Squad, as you will.
The goons. Bless you.
Real Goonhammer. All right. We are sitting at 170 points left.
All right, so
this could also be a 3rd Sidonian Dragoon.
This totally could be. I don't think that's that necessary, though you totally can. I've done the 3 and 3 solo Iron Striders. So
are we thinking...
have transports. I like having 1 transport in most of my lists, and that's just because if you need to put it out there and your opponent's activation locked, it's really nice. But you also get that scout move, and it really helps the 2nd Ranger unit get to the closest objective that's not in your deployment zone and sticky that.
Are we thinking 1 or 2?
I think just 1.
Just 1.
Yep. I think there is a Skitarii build that has a bunch of transports and a bunch of Skitarii, but it will flop against the best armies, and we're trying to punch up here as much as possible. So I think 1 is plenty.
Okay, we have 90 points left.
All right. So with 90 points, we have a couple options. We can go for like another Ranger squad. We can play around with some of the points here. Or we could drop something and go for the Corpuscari package.
So we could... It would be basically like upgrading a unit here to the Corpuscari package because we would need 20 points. Mm-hmm. And then also we would probably want a character to go in it.
Well, we have the Techno-Archaeologist who can go in there.
He can go in there.
And he'll give them +1 OC, so they'll be OC2, which means they're just similar to a troop unit.
That's true. I did like the idea of the Tech Priest Manipulus with the Omni Sterilizer just being this just absolute jerk of an Overwatch threat and just being annoying to kill and giving them a 4-up invuln once a game.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and put the Corpuscari and we'll play around with the points.
Sounds good to me.
So 10 of them is going to be 110 points.
That unit is just obnoxious. Like, I could realistically see just taking... I mean, maybe this is, this is just me, but I could realistically see taking 30 of them.
You really could. So the problem here is that they start taking up the points where you want battle line units, and you need battle line to access the full rerolls from the breachers. If they were battle line, then 100% I would spam them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. If they gave you the aura buffs, there we go.
But I think the strongest thing about this Corpuscari unit is the ability to put the Omni Sterilizer in there and then really tank a ton of damage. And generally, he does survive if you're playing the angles properly.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of firepower to drop this unit. Like,
yeah,
it takes a lot more than your opponent will think. 10 dorks in funky robes will take to kill, because 4-up invuln, 5-up feel no pain, with -1 to, not -1 to hit, but -1 to wound, is just miserable to try to kill.
And we don't have to put the Manipulus in there. We could go into the Breachers instead, if that's a matchup we prefer having him in, and we could just drop the Techno-Archaeologist in there instead, and it's still a durable, annoying unit with 2 OC each, which is quite cool.
Yes.
All right, we are how many points over? 20?
20 points over with this current list as it sits.
Okay, so what we can do here... So we want something to be able to score area denial turn 1. I always like having some sort of infiltrating piece. So the infiltrators are 70 points, which means if we go ahead and drop 1 Iron Strider, we will... not 1 Iron Strider. If we drop 1 of the troop units,
yep,
we can access them. I still like this amount of breachers. And we have the Custodes here. So let's go ahead and drop 1 of the Skystalker units.
One of the Skystalkers, just cut it entirely?
Yeah, just cut it.
Sounds good. Yeah, we have a decent amount of mission play here. We also have a bunch of random units. That's going to leave us with 45 points, which is unfortunate
Nope.
Techno-archaeologist?
Yep, we would just grab a second techno-archaeologist, and our backfield is just screamed. Also, having two of them is annoying for opponents' rapid ingress plays. They might have to come at an angle where they're out in the open.
Okay.
And now we have an extra character to just slot in the breachers to give them extra OC, since some of them are going to come in from strategic reserves, or our rangers or vanguard are OC3 in those matchups where it's valuable.
I also think a decent amount of the time, like a very good amount of the time, when you're not playing into indirect, one techno-archaeologist just sits on your home objective and behind a train, and every other piece of your army gets to go do stuff. Like, don't feel like you have to attach your characters to units.
You definitely don't.
Noticing that with World Eaters, people are like, oh, which units is he attaching Invocatus and the Zerker Lord to? And I was like, nobody. They're just by themselves.
Yep.
You know, it's like, don't feel like you have to attach characters just because they are leaders. They might be better by themselves.
So this is an army with a lot of different tech choices and a lot of flexibility depending on what you're playing against. You'll switch around whether characters go in units, whether they stay by themselves, whether you're trying to emphasize the breacher damage, or you want the extra durability from the Corpuscari combo. Now, we don't have the stealth, the emanation thing. I think that's the least important part because a lot of good armies have full rerolls to hit, and it's not as impactful as -1 to wound.
-1 wound's a big deal.
But -1 to wound is what we get from having the character inside.
Yep. Yeah.
So you can, if you want to finagle some extra points in here, potentially go for that. But I don't think
how many points is it?
25 points, I believe. So
I don't see anything easily cuttable for 25 points. So I'm not, like, in love with it. I mean, you could drop Skitari Rangers, 10 Rangers to Skystalkers. You'd get the 25, then the Corpuscari Priests are running around at max durability. I don't hate that. But you can't put Omni Sterilizer Manipulus in them and have stealth. So,
exactly.
like, screw the whole concept.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't go for it. But you could also drop the second Techno-Archaeologist and with the 20 points, upgrade a Dragoon unit, one of the solo Dragoons, to an Eviscer and have a second Assassin.
Okay. This is us at 2k on the nose right now. So if we drop the Techno... Oh, I see. Drop the Techno, you get 25 points to take Emanation.
You get 25 for the Emanation, 20 free floating points. Use those 20 points and the 60 from a Dragoon to make an Eviscer.
Yep, that also seems pretty good. Eviscer Assassin is pretty clearly the second best one, so if you've already got the Calidus, or you can't afford the Calidus, that's what you go for.
Yep.
Because it is only 75.
But I like this archetype. This is very similar to what I would run if I brought Admech to a tournament. And I think it's the strongest way to play Admech because you have the most consistent damage output while still doing a lot of annoying mission stuff.
Yes. The Breachers do good amounts of damage, and the fact that you are taking 18 of them means you get the damage. This is not going as hard into an MSU route, but you also still just have a lot of random nonsense units on top of this.
The thing about 18 Breachers that is amazing is that you can use them as trade pieces because Admech have a 1 CP strat to, if they get shot, to shoot back. So you can get a lot of Breacher activations into people.
What's their range? 24? 30?
36. And
36,
in
really?
18 it's 4 shots instead of 2.
Interesting.
So you can get quite a few activations, just finish off wounded things.
Please tell me they're infantry.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was worried they'd be like mounted.
They can access, advance, and shoot through the Doctrina.
Okay, how fast do they move?
5 inches.
All right, that is not a bad unit.
But yeah, you can also come in from strategic reserve. So. And
then you still have the Manipulus Corpuscari unit that slams.
Yep.
Like that unit is actually quite good because it's a great caddy for the Omni Sterilizer unit because a 4-up, 5-up, -1 to wound is not going to just randomly keel over. And in fact, it's going to survive some very real shooting. Like two Redemptors oathed into that Corpuscari unit will kill like 4. It's not as much as you would want.
Yeah,
and then the Manipulus just goes, hey, and shoots a bunch of stuff.
I really like this archetype. Gray, hopefully you enjoy this one, and let us know how the list performs.
Absolutely. Well, that was a lot of fun. I got to find out a lot of cool stuff about Admech. Let's move on. Imperial Knights.
Rezial with his Noble Knight Lance. So, going through this list, it has Canis Rex, who is a fantastic knight. He's the one that went down in points because his ability to use free strats is quite a bit more restricted since there aren't too many battle tactics anymore in the Knight book, and a lot of events rule that you can't use the CP reroll on him for free because it doesn't target. So
Yeah, hopefully they change their mind on that one, but as of now, that is how
as of now, his free isn't really the most impactful part of him. It's the fact that he is very good in combat, awesome at tank shocking people, and actually has some solid shooting damage as well. He's like an all-around package for relatively cheap, and he pops out a lone operative when he dies, which is very undervalued in my opinion. It's quite strong.
is legitimately very, very good.
And then you have a Knight Paladin with Unyielding Paragon,
Yep,
which
that is Armor Contempt.
that is Armor Contempt on a 3-up body, which is still quite strong.
It is real good.
When you combine with cover, of course. And then his shoot. What is the weapons on the Paladin?
The Paladin is the battle cannon one.
It's the battle cannon and
Ranged
combat.
weapons, so it's a some kind of combat weapon. It is a rapid fire battle cannon, which is a legitimately crazy amount of shots at AP strength 10 AP 1 damage 3. It is D6 plus 3 with rapid fire D6 plus 3 at 72 inch range. So if you're at 36, you're taking 2D6 plus 6 shots with blast at 10 minus 1 3. It doesn't really line up into a lot of profiles as well as you would like, because anything that is 3 wounds oftentimes will have a 2-up, or have cover, or have Armor of Contempt, and suddenly you're handing them 2s or 3s tops, and that's just not... If you're handing them 3s, you can probably kill a bunch of them.
Yep.
But if you're handing them 2s, you probably don't.
Yes.
And that is the point where you're kind of shooting every turn and not really doing anything. So that might be something we want to address.
And his Bondsman ability.
Gives lethal hits and lance, which is not the best. I personally don't love Warglaives very much, or Helverins. I like them for being cheap. I don't like them for trying to make them do anything. But they are fairly cheap, and if you can activate the 5 at Feel No Pain, then you're chilling, because they are fairly cheap. They have an invul and they're annoying to deal with. And then finally, the Paladin rerolls a hit roll, a wound roll, or a saving throw once per phase. So he does have a lot of consistency on that battle cannon, because you reroll a hit roll of 1 and a wound roll of 1, and then another wound roll, and then when you punch, you reroll a hit roll of 1, wound roll of 1, and either a hit or a wound, and that is good. Like that's legitimately a good rule for him. It's just
the weapon profile itself isn't enough to do consistent damage against some of the stronger targets out there.
Yes.
And if you're bringing 2 big knights, you're expecting to make sure that from range you can actually kill those units.
Yes. Sorry, all of these are 150. It just looks like the list is legal. It just looks like the posted list was a little bit off, or I messed up. That's probably not it though.
Jack would never mess up.
No, never have, never will. Not planning on starting now.
All right. And then Imperial Agents, of course, the Calidus Assassin. Once again, it's just an Imperial Army staple. It's so good. Followed by the 5 Voidsmen, because it's the next cheapest infantry thing. You could go for 4, Imperial Henchmen.
The Inquisitorial Henchmen are probably a little better. They are 2 wound guardsmen. They are 10 points cheaper.
Yep.
So I do like that quite a bit, because Voidsmen at Arms are 5 1-wound idiots. And people I don't think realize that Inquisitorial Henchmen are 2 wounds apiece, and just kind of annoying to get through.
Yeah.
Against Eldar, against Night Spinners, you have to leave both of those units in reserves if they have the Incarn.
Yes.
Because the Incarn will just appear in your backfield and start killing dudes.
Chopping. All right.
It's something you got to think about.
How do you feel about this archetype? You already said you're very skeptical on the Warglaives and the Helverins.
Yeah, so I definitely think that still the best knights are the big ones. And if you want to shoot, you have the Crusader. The Lancer is all right. It's not amazing, but it is all right. It doesn't advance and charge anymore, which makes me kind of not really love it as much. But
the real reason to take the Lancer is the free the tank shock.
You do get free tank shock.
You can get 2 different tank shocks.
Yeah, tank shock for 1 CP and then tank shock for free, and it's a lot of mortal wounds. Straight up, a lot of mortal wounds.
Yeah, you're rolling 20 plus dice, you're going to get your max.
Crusader's also pretty good, especially with the teleporty aroundy thing, which I forget what it's called.
Yep. But
I can pull that up. So Crusader is quite expensive, but with Mysterious Guardian, it is 20 points more than a Knight Paladin at 510. Now, unfortunately, 510 is a very awkward amount of points, because it means that we can cut 3 Armigers to get a Crusader in. I don't hate the Paladin, but as, like, the shooting damage output of this army is Canis Rex, which is a decent gun, and then a Paladin, which is a highly situationally dependent gun.
Yep. This army doesn't do enough consistent damage. Any good army is going to run this over, so we need to create problems for the good armies.
Yes, we need to make the good armies scared of stepping out, really. That could be a variety of things.
The problem with the Warglaives and the Helverins is that they're nowhere near as consistent as the Brigands in Chaos Knights, which can act independently and result in a lot of damage at multiple targets. Helverins, I don't even know if a Warglaive has ever done any damage with a Melta against me. I can't recall it. Same thing for the Helverin. It's just not a profile that's amazing. It is okay, and particularly good into like more elitish infra. The thing is, there's just 2-up save, armor contempt everywhere.
Yeah,
and this army is just going to struggle into it.
It really is. Especially with the Helverins being strength 9, they wound all those Terminators on 3s, and then the Terminators get a 2-up without even having to pop armor of contempt. It's a rough world out there for a Helverin.
So I think Big Knights is the best way to go for Imperial Knights.
Yes, I would tend to agree. I will say I think that Warglaives are fine as your run forward and do things units, but realistically, what I think we're going to do is I think we're going to melt down at least 3 of these into a Big Knight, and we're going to find the remainder of the points somewhere. What's likely to happen is another Warglaive is going to turn into the last amount of points, a second Assassin, and 2 units of Inquisitorial Henchmen.
Can we just look at the Porphyrion?
Was this... Yeah, we can. I think it went up like an insane amount of points.
How many points is it?
Where are you, buddy? Is it not... It's not a character. Okay, other data sheets. The Porphyrion is 745 points.
I mean, if a Crusader's 5'10", it's not like that.
So the thing does hit giga damn hard. It has 2 twin-linked twin Magna las cannons, which are blast at strength 18, AP4, damage D6 plus 6, twin-linked. And then I guess it gets lethal hits if it stands still, but you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
It's not a character, so you can't give it any enhancements.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't teleport around, can't do anything like that. It is big funny. I think it needs to go down in points before you really consider. 745.
T13, 2-up save, 30 wounds. Can get the 4-up invuln.
I know you want big chungus on the
big damage. Like, the thing is, with the Big Knights, they honestly don't even do that much damage. Not even compared to what they have previously done. So, I think you have to go for the Crusader over the Paladin if we're going to go for trying to do damage. But, like, a Porphyrion cutting a couple armatures, it is consistent damage.
It is consistent damage. I can't lie to you on that.
And 2-up save and cover is not something to sniff at.
That's true. If Rezial had a Porphyrion, had a Porphy, it would have used it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do the Crusader and get that Avenger Gatling and the Battle Cannon on there and Mysterious Guardians because teleporting is very powerful.
So you can do the Avenger Gatling, you can do the Battle Cannon.
Melta.
Or you can do the Melta. I'm pretty sure that I think the Melta is a bit better.
I just like having some high AP here.
Of course. So you probably also want to take Mysterious Guardian just so you have some amount of threat range, like just shooting at range, like not threat range, the ability to pick up and put down and shoot. Mm-hmm. It is quite good. So we've got, and then this guy just can teleport around and is a decent fire base.
Yep.
Right, you can kit him out with either the Battle Cannon or the Melta Cannon. I personally prefer the Melta Cannon because you use your reroll 1 to hit, reroll 1 to wound, and just tank gone. Infantry unit takes a lot of damage. And it gets sustained hits if it stands still, which means you tap a terrain feature. You're over... Oh, you can't Overwatch anymore.
Yeah.
You're right. But you can just shoot. Like that.
All right. What is the next Big Knight that we go for?
So the next Big Knight, let's take a look at how many points we have left. And we might have to peruse through some of the choices. So we have 440 points left.
440.
Doug Henningsen with a $2 super chat says, played Brian Jones at Tampa. The Imperial Knights list was fire. Yes, Brian Jones is a quite good player who mains Imperial Knights, which is not really a thing that a combination that most people have. And so he does really good work with them. In fact, I might be cribbing some of his notes. That's, how life goes. So let's take a look at what we can get for the last one. So there's the Atropos, which is not actually that bad. It doesn't have it has a bondsman ability that points at a unit and says you get rerolls to hit and wound against Towering and Titanic, which is fine. But every time he attacks a monster or vehicle, it gets +1 to hit, which is not bad. And Atropos is pretty decent there.
How many points is it?
Exactly 440, which is what we have.
What's its gun?
So its gun is you get to pick two different shots, either 2d6 shots with sustained hits 1 at 7 -1 2, or d6 shots at sustained hits 1 at 14 -3 4, and then it has another gun that again has two different profiles that can either be d3 shots blast at strength 16 AP 4 damage d6 +1.
Okay.
Or D3 shots with blast, devastating wounds, and hazard. So it can overcharge its gun at strength 16 AP4 damage D6 +1, but devastating wounds.
Yeah.
So its guns are all right. It has two guns, and then the Las Cutter is also a melee weapon, which is exactly the same as getting shot by it, except you get punched by it.
So its shooting is somewhat inconsistent, for sure.
It is. It does get +1 to hit against monsters and vehicles.
Which is nice, yeah.
Which helps a lot, because he runs in, I believe it's all attacks? Yeah, and attacks. So he runs into combat with, 6 attacks that hit on 2s with a reroll, sustained hits 1, and then they wound on 3s with a reroll. Like, this is a pretty reliable way to kill a vehicle in combat, for sure, as well as being a pretty reliable way to kill a vehicle in shooting. D6 shots at sustained 1 is a little, I wish it were like 4 shots, 5 shots, some like guaranteed amount, but you will almost certainly smoke a vehicle a turn in shooting and a vehicle a turn in melee if you wanted to take this guy. Other options is the Castigator got a lot worse because it no longer gets +1 AP and sustained hits 1, which is unfortunate. But it does hand out -1 to hit, and its ranged weapon is twin-linked, which isn't terrible. It's 18 shots. It no longer has sustained 1 and AP3, which made it a real threat, but it is twin-linked, so you take what you can get. Other things you can take, we can straight up copy Brian Jones and take a Lancer. I think the Lancer is because he wanted to play a Lancer, not because he's like, I'll make it work, and then he did.
Yeah, I think it's decidedly underwhelming.
Yes, but I am pretty sure that he decided I would like to play a Lancer, and then he did. Rather than, I think this is the best one. There's the Knight Errant that gets +1 to hit the closest target, but only has the Melta Cannon. But the Melta Cannon is almost certainly going to drop anything it shoots at.
What's his bondsman ability?
Hands out assault and like reroll advances, I believe. Reroll advance rolls and ranged weapons get assault. Okay. Each time the Knight Errant makes an attack roll against the closest target, ranged attack, +1 to hit. So he'll hit on 2s with the thermal cannon, which is pretty nasty.
I hate that because being able to advance and do actions with your Warglaives is quite nice.
That is pretty good. There's the Knight. I mean, I'm just going to go through all the options here because I'm not as familiar with Imperial Knights as I could be. Mm-hmm. So going through, we've got the Castellan, which has gives out cover.
No.
Rerolls damage rolls of 1.
It's too expensive now.
It is insane. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's 565.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We have the Paladin that we already talked about. We have the Preceptor, which is Canis Rex's younger brother. Gives out improved leadership and OC, and can target an enemy to be really mad at the start of the game. Probably not what I'd go for. Valiant can't Overwatch anymore. Very sad. The Knight Warden is something that is actually quite interesting. Yep. Yeah, so you can take a Warden, hand out -1 damage to 2 Warglaives, and then they are kind of annoying to get rid of. Like, really just annoying to get rid of. And then when he targets his gun at a unit, it gets devastating wounds unless it's the monster vehicle. Which is fine. It's not twin-linked like the Castigators, I believe. Yes, it's just 18 shots at 622.
622.
Not bad dev wounds, but the damage output probably a little lacking on that one. If I'm going to be real with you, probably lacking.
How many points is he?
Bit. He is 480.
Okay.
So he is significantly more than an Atropos. I like the Atropos a bit more. And then Megara, I believe. Oh yeah, no, they did my boy dirty. He went from yeah, they were real rude to him. The lightning cannon went to 902.
Yeah, it got the Yavara treatment.
12 shots, sustained 2. Last good thing I can say about it. And it can no longer get Ignore's cover on himself, so it's kind of sad. So the Megara got kicked. The Styrax going through, hands out Ignore's cover, does not receive it, who cares? And then you can Grav Pin to make people not move. So looking through, the ones I like are the Atropos, a Second Crusader, possibly a Warden. What's your top line impression?
I definitely don't mind the Errant, honestly.
The Errant also good, yeah.
The hitting on 2s with the Melta, and also the being able to give advance and shoot, which means you can advance in action with your Warglaives, which is nice. How many points what's the difference here? You said 440 for the Atropos, which would fit right exactly in.
It would fit exactly in. The Errant is 430, which would also fit exactly in. The Gallant does not do anything that I care about.
Okay, so let's look at the enhancements one more time, because if we cut the Voidsman down to Henchman, we save 10 points.
We get 20.
And then we would have 20 total. So is there a cool enhancement we could give here?
Revered Knight is 20. While friendly Imperial Knights models within 6 inches improve their leadership by 1. Improve that. I don't like
Screw
that.
You, John. Screw you, John.
Yes. You take your leadership checks and go home. Mysterious Guardians, which we've already got on the Crusader. Mythic Hero. Whenever you use your Bondsman, you can pick a second one. Not great on the Errant, but pretty decent on something like a Warden. Something like that, where you actually are going to use it on 2. Banner Macarius Triumphant, if it stickies the objective, which is
I like that one.
Legitimately quite good. That one is 30 points, so we would need to find some points. But that is very good. And then finally, Unyielding Paragon reduces AP. Reduces incoming AP. Sticky objectives is legitimately really good.
Sticky objectives.
You do not have a lot of units. You really want to be able to walk off objectives. Like, you really want to be able to walk off objectives and then put, like, hold on. Yeah, no, that's already counting in us downgrading the unit.
Yeah. If we downgraded, we'd be over by 10.
So here's what I think that we do.
So we can drop a Warglaive down to... No, they're all both 150.
So we drop a Warglaive. We pick up an Eversur. We pick up another unit of trash. Because that's all we need. We just need more dudes doing more trash things. And then we can... Let's see how many points we have after that.
Okay. I definitely want sticky objectives in here.
Oh, yeah. Big time. So 4 henchmen. And then...
that's 40 points, right?
That is 40 points. Thank you.
Okay.
And then we take that. We put a second one in because... Unit 40 Imperial Knights cannot get enough of 40-point units. If they could take more than 2, I would take more. I would take 2, more than 2 or whatever. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yep. Eversur friend.
Eversur Assassin at 75 is again just a great lone op, and it lets you put lone ops onto objectives without exposing your knights right away. Mm-hmm. So let me see how many points we have left after all of that, after the trashing. Okay, so if we add in an Eversur and we add in Inquisitorial Henchman numbers 1 and 2 and we delete these Voidsmen at Arms, we have 485 points. If we want to take the 30-point enhancement, that means we have 455 points, which is enough to give us some options. So if we're looking at 455, that is, of course, the Atropos, which we can take. That is the Errant, which we can take. That is the Paladin, if we so choose. That is the Megara, I guess. We're not going to do that. That is it. So we could take the Paladin, the Errant, or the Atropos of the ones that like do roughly something. What are your thoughts there?
I'm leaning towards the Errant personally, but I could totally see the Atropos. I don't really like the Paladin. I think its gun is not going to do anything into the good armies in the meta.
I would tend to agree.
Even though its data sheet is fine. Like, the data sheet ability is fine.
So looking from one to the other, what are the benefits? So the Atropos, I believe, does not have a relevant bondsman. Gets you reroll hits and wounds against Titanic or Towering, which is not particularly relevant.
No.
That's what he hands to the Armigers. Now, he every time makes an attack against monsters or vehicles, he gets +1 to hit, so he hits on 2s. That's pretty damn good. And the range on the weapons is longer. It's exactly the same. It's 36 on the small blast gun. It's 24 on everything else.
Okay.
So the range is about the same. The bondsman ability is worse, right? You want assault and reroll advanced rolls on your warglaves so that you can throw them around the board and do secondaries with them. But the gun is worse, right? 2d3 shots at 24-inch range. Even if you target the closest one that's hitting on 2s with 2d3 shots, like, the shooting output of an errant is substantially worse than that of the Atropos. I would probably tend to say Atropos. What's your thoughts? I know you like the advancing around the board doing secondaries, so there's really no bad options here.
Yeah, I think either one is fine. I think if we want the little bit extra damage, then that's fine. Let's go for that.
So I think what we're going to do is
especially because we have the Crusader and not a Paladin. If we had the Paladin here, then I would definitely prefer having another Melta.
Either one. And then that is either 470 or 480, depending. You're just going to have to bear with me, and that's going to be Atropos or Errant. And there we go. And then we get Banner
Macarius.
of Macarius Triumphant. There we go. Either one of them fits in. You don't have any points left to spare, really. If you take an Errant, then... I have this backwards, but... Yeah. Oh, no, yes, I do. If you take an Errant, then you probably upgrade some henchmen to... Honestly, just leave the henchmen as is.
Yep.
Yeah. You could take the Eversur and make it the Sniper Boy, but I think the Eversur is better.
Yeah.
And then you have Armigers to run around the board and do secondaries. Do not try to fight with them.
Yeah, they just don't really do any consistent amount of damage, so it's just about playing the mission with them.
Yep.
But yeah, I like this archetype.
Yeah, the 3 bigs and then enough trash to play mission is where I would definitely want to end up.
All right. Fantastic.
Okay, so finally we are up on Custodes.
The old Custodes.
I would be surprised if Redrum was not in the chat, but if they are not, then I'm sure they'll watch afterwards. They are a prolific viewer. All right, let's go over. Now we're balls in my court, baby. Let's go. All right, we have Adeptus Custodes Shield Host, Double Blade Champion, one with Veiled Blade that gives him +2 attacks, and once a game triples his OC up to OC 6 or 7 if there's a banner in the unit. Redrum, you're here. All right, let's go, baby. All right, and then we got a Blade Champion, a Ceaseless Hunter, which is an incredible enhancement. Big fan of that. It lets them fall back and charge, which is good because I assume he's going to the Wardens. And Wardens sometimes don't finish everything that they fight. Yep. And your opponent can tie them up. Well, if it falls back and charges, you can't do any of that. And then once a game lets them, when your opponent ends a move within 9, move 6 inches. And the key thing here is this not a stratagem. The fact it's not a stratagem is important because stratagems have a phase that they are used in. Right? Some of them say your opponent's movement phase or whatever. Blade Champion, the Ceaseless Hunter, does not. Which means if, say, you run up to a unit of Wraithguard, and then they happen to maybe Phantasm back, and end that move, which is a normal move, within 9 inches of you, 6 inches forward, then charge. There are things you can do with it that are very interesting. Most of the time it's just, hey, did you deep strike a unit of bombs in range of me? No, you didn't. Hey, did you run up to charge me? No, you didn't. Hey, did you move up to, move block me? Yeah, I'm going to move 6 inches around the side, and then I'm going to move over and advance and charge. So, yes, both Blade Champions are definitely going in those Warden units, and then we have 4 units of 5 Custodian Guard. A very simple list, very streamlined. 4 units of 5 Custodian Guard, and 3 units of Prosecutors. So, I think there's two kinds of builds you can go for with Adeptus Custodes right now.
Yep.
One is either 2 or 3 Caladius. I personally prefer 3 Caladius in that. and then you take 3 bricks, a little bit of support, and you're mostly done. Decent amount of shooting. So, you know, you get a decent amount of shooting, good anti-tank. Your opponent doesn't love that. You get good skirmish units in builds where that's not important. That's not what we're doing here. I think that's something we did last week. There's a lot of Custodes lists that get submitted. That's not what we're doing here. The other way to build them, right? There's one that's 2 to 3 Caladius, and you build around that. Yeah, I thought it was 40, but then the list that got quoted was 50. We'll see. Anyway, the other way to do it is to take maximum bricks, right? Maximum units of foot Custodes, and you play the game like you did before, but a little more cagely, because you don't have the raw damage. Like, you don't, not the raw damage, the raw, like, you can't stop this punch, and then you get hit by it, that you used to.
Oh, those 10-man units with all the rerolls and everything, they actually hit really hard.
A shield captain for -1 damage on a 10-man unit is just...
Yeah, so that is a big change, but still, a 5-man unit requires a good dedication of resources.
Yes, it does. Yeah, prosecutors are 40. I don't know why. The graphic definitely said 50. Or the list definitely said 50, but I see they are 5 sisters. So they're supposed to be 5. You can buy them 4 or 5. We're not doing 5s. I'm sorry. We're already cutting that. So let's look to try and live our best brick life. Okay? Blade Champion plus 5 Wardens. I love that unit with Ceaseless Hunter. That unit is fantastic. Basically, what I'm trying to do here is come up with the best combos possible. And Blade Champion Ceaseless and 5 Custodian Wardens is an amazing combo. Mm-hmm. After that, you know what's also an amazing combo? Is Curia Draxus plus a unit of Custodian Guard. That combo slams. I don't know if any of you guys saw my Custodes game into John's Salamanders.
The Firestorm.
The Firestorm, sorry. But it was actually Salamanders. Yeah. But Curia Draxus, by herself, killed 5 Inceptors in shooting. Just by herself. And then the rest of the unit got the spare. And that wasn't even crazy. If you control an objective with them, she rerolls wounds, and she has gross guns. Like, her guns are really stupid. Yeah. She has 4 shotgun that is anti-infantry 4+, devastating wounds, damage 2. Mm-hmm. And rerolling to wound on that is vile. And then she has a 6-shot indirect gun that is sustained hits 2, strength 6, AP 0, damage 2. And with reroll wounds, again, pretty nasty. And she gives the unit +1 to hit against Xenos. So if you do happen to go into like Eldar, her indirect gun actually ragdolls them. It's great.
Yep.
Then, since she's in Custodian Guard, once a game, you shoot twice, and yeah, that does affect her, actually. And then, also, she hands the unit 18-inch No Shoot Me, which is just, like, so good, right? It's just peanut butter and jelly. She shoots really... They give her the ability to shoot really hard, which is something that they can't really take advantage of as a 5-man squad with bolters.
Yep.
And then she gives them the ability to not be shot as they move up the board. Cannot get on board with that enough. That unit is in every single Custodes list that I will write from here until the day I die. Because I was so impressed. It wasn't even... It was about average that she killed 5. Was the crazy part. Like, she should do that in shooting. Maybe 4, maybe 6. They pick up the spare, not crazy. Because you just hand your opponent a bunch of devastating wounds and a bunch of saves. And so she is not 145. She is, I believe, 75. She is really quite good.
She's 75, I think.
Yeah, she is 75. Okay. Love her. She's amazing. She's in my lists. I'm sorry, you can't take that away from me. So we could take Blade Champion, Veiled Blade, and 5 Custodian Wardens. That's also just a generically pretty good unit. I like the advance and charge on the Blade Champ. Mm-hmm. And Veiled Blade on a Blade Champ is good because he has the best melee weapon that you can give an enhancement to, which then +2 attacks on all of his profiles is pretty decent. And then upgrading his OC, it's all right. It's not like insane or nothing. It's fine. So let's put in where we're at. I'm going to leave in the 1 Custodian Guard unit because we are going to kind of build this from scratch. Well, that's a weird way to do it, but that's okay. am going to kind of build this list a little bit from scratch, from the ground up, as a bricks list. All right, I hate you, Graphic. I just hate you. I hate you so much.
It wants the weapons to stay with the 3.
Well, tough business. So we're going to just move the Blade Champion down for now, and then we're going to move these guys, and I just cannot with this. Some of them are keyed together, some of them All right, we're done with that nonsense. That's a lesson to the others. Okay. All right, we're done. We're done with all that. So, this list right here, I do like 3 units of prosecutors. You don't really need 3 units of prosecutors, if I'm going to be honest with you. 2 plus a Custodes is like super enough.
Yep.
And the Custodes is generically just a very good unit. So if we start here, right, we have what I would consider to be 2 of the strongest units, combinations that you can make, which is the Ceaseless Hunter Blade Champ unit and Drax's Custodian Guard. Because again, just being able to not be shot on Custodian Guard is so good. It's so good. So if we're doing that, and then I'm going to put in 2 units of prosecutors and a Custodes. Because I do think the Custodes is really strong. I mean, we've recommended in every Imperium list, and I don't think we're going to stop anytime soon.
I don't think so.
If you don't have a Custodes, then I would consider picking one up. All right, Custodes.
It went down in points too, like
wild, wild. I know they were doing that because of Vect, but like, who cares? So Custodes Assassin. All right, this list right here at the top of the screen, this up here, is 920 points.
So still have basically half a list to play with.
Exactly. And we've gotten our trash out of the way. We have enough trash units. We don't need any more. So this is just pure pain coming in at our opponent. Mm-hmm. What I would love to do is I would love to get 3 really good synergy units out of those remaining points. I don't know if that's possible. So we'll see. Other good combos. A unit I like is I like Venatari, at least 1 unit, so that you can Rapid Ingress with it, and then you can Rapid Ingress with a different unit on the same turn. So you Rapid Ingress 1, Rapid Ingress the second one, because Venatari just say you get to Rapid Ingress for free, even if you've already done it. So, I mean, you could go triple Venatari from here, and you'd have to cut some amount of points, but you could try and make it work. I would probably not. Venatari, I think, are a really good addition, because they don't need a character. In fact, you can't add a character to them, so that's good. Which means that as far as a brick goes, they're on the cheaper end. 400 points for a brick is a little bit on the cheaper end. So I want to add that in, and then I want a different threat that we can Rapid Ingress. We can 1 CP Rapid Ingress, and then free Rapid Ingress the Venatari all in the same turn, right? So I don't think you need more than 1 squad of Venatari, but I do think 1 is quite good. If you wanted to run 2 units, I'm not here to stop you. I have 12 Venatari on their way
and they look fantastic.
In my waiting hands.
Which weapon are you using? The Tarsus Buckler or the...
So it's going to mostly be spears, but here's the fun part about Venatari. You can mix and match. So with the Venatari, you can take 1 or 2 bucklers or 4 or 5 lances. I don't know what the correct combination is yet. I have not played with them. I don't know what the correct combo is. I would assume 2 shields, 4 lance. The shields still bop in combat. They don't bop as hard. I don't know what the correct answer is. They do stop damage 3 from just ripping the unit apart. And they make damage 2 going to damage 1. Really take a while to get through that first guy. It might just be 1 buckler and then 5 dudes with pain. And then you res the buckler. I'm going to start actually with that. Let's put them back. You get 1 buckler. I would like the unit substantially less, by the way, if they did not have the ability to take at least 1 buckler in the unit. Just because...
Durability is important.
Yeah, durability. Not being able to have your opponent fire 1 Forge Fiend at you and it cleans the whole unit. You still need to be careful of Forge Fiends. Forge Fiends are really probably the nastiest unit to you. But like 1 Maliceptor doesn't clear the whole unit because the first 2 saves kill 1, or you -1 damage, or both. I think you take... I mean, honestly, it doesn't particularly matter, that discussion right now. We're just going to go 1, 4 or 5 spears, 1 or 2 shields. And you just do that. Now, this gives you a really good Rapid Ingress threat that you can drop on your opponent. But we are running a bit over the average points cost required to get 3 bricks in, which means for every 400 point unit, because we had about 1100, we had 1080. 1080 leaves you with math y 160. It leaves you with, I think, I don't know what the average is, but the point is we need to put a custodian guard unit in.
Another one?
Another one. Just naked, just custodian guard unit to offset the average points cost of the Venatari.
So that we can get a brick plus character in here?
So we can get a third brick plus character in. Because now we have 430 points, which is a unit we can do. Mm-hmm. Right? One custodian guard unit is probably in the sky, along with the Venatari, the custodian guard rapid, the Venatari rapid, and you go. Which leaves us with exactly enough points to take the, I believe, if I've done my math right, Custodian Warden and the Blade Champ with Veiled Blade, which is what I was trying to fit in the last couple of points. So that leaves us with enough points to fit that in, right? Because 275 plus 145 is 420, and we can feel free to have that unit blaze it up the field and run up and advance and charge.
So what do we have left? 5 points?
We have 10 points left.
10 points.
Not much to do much with. But I actually think that list is quite solid.
So second Warden squad, a second Blade Champ, this time with the Veiled Blade. So you're going to have double Wardens, double Custodian Guard, a Venatari unit, and more tech.
That's right. So you will end up with a 5 brick list. Oh, I did that wrong. Formatting is so hard nowadays, you know? So we end up with 5 bricks, but we have good combos in each brick. Mm-hmm. Right? So if we tack on another Custodian Warden unit and then the Blade Champ, that unit, as I said, is 420. We don't get a great 4th brick for it, for 420. Other than that, what I would really like, we could go Trajan Custodian Guard. That would, I believe, work. Trajan is 160. That would be a 410 point brick, which would leave us with 20 points. I'm not against that. That unit is pretty damn good. The problem is it's only pretty damn good if you're playing WTC, which Rezial is, and I don't hate that. That is a horrifying rapid ingress unit because it ignores all modifiers. If GW decides that they, that ignoring modifiers ignores -1 to wound and it definitely ignores -1 to wound. But if they say the ignoring modifiers ignores AP reduction and damage reduction, then I do like Trajan in the list. Mm-hmm. You can talk about him in the same context as the Blade Champion, Veiled Blade, and Wardens. You just put him in a unit of Wardens, and you have to make 5 points, which kind of sucks. We could take Valyrian in here. Valyrian gives Armor of Contempt to his unit in combat only.
Okay, less cool.
Less cool. He also has the once per battle round you roll a hit, wound, or saving throw for him, and then once per battle you switch him to a 6 to hit, wound, or saving throw after rolling it, and he is a beat stick at 8 -3 damage 2. He's not bad. He's fine. He's probably not as good as a captain.
That's fair.
Yeah, he's probably not as good as a captain. I like this kit. I like this loadout here. If you want to take Trajan plus Custodian Guard, you can. If you want to take Trajan plus Custodian Wardens, you are having to find 5 points. And that is an unfortunate number to have to find here. Yes. Also, Veiled Blade on the Blade Champ is pretty good. So, there you go. You have some options. These are the combinations I think I would take. But honestly, the thing I could mess around with here is the Blade Champion Veiled Blade second Warden brick. That's the one where it's this slots into the points, not this is something I think is very strong. And we do have I think it's good. It's just not, all right, what do I want in Custodes? All right, Ceaseless Hunter Warden's unit. Venatari to be able to double rapid ingress, and Draxus plus Custodian Guard. Those 3 are going in my army. And if you do that, you take enough prosecutors, you probably have to take a 5-man naked Custodian Guard squad, and then you get enough points for 420 points of nonsense. You can't get any more points on these units here, the prosecutors. If you could get a 35 point whatever the heck it was called. I've already forgotten.
The
policeman, the cops. If you
The
get
Adeptus
35 points to
Arbiters.
cops, I would definitely support Wardens plus Trajan. Even just for that free fight first, and ignoring the movement mods out of Eldar. Because ignoring the Night Spinner movement mod is kind of a big deal. If you drop in, they shoot you a bunch. You need to make sure that you don't get just stuck there.
Yep.
So I do like that. There's a lot of good options for that last brick. If you're playing in WTC, which you said, sorry, not Rezial, Redrum. If you're playing in WTC, you can definitely consider Trajan. There. Trajan in Custodian Guard, or Trajan in Wardens with making some cuts. Probably the Calidus for like an Eversur. I'm not like a big fan of that, but you could do it. Honestly, it's probably Trajan plus Custodian Guard, but you have room to mess around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got a super chat there, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yep. So we just checked. We don't have any other super chats that we haven't addressed. We've got Redrum with the €5 super chat. Says, thanks so much for fixing my list. I mostly play in WTC terrain. Yep. So Trajan is always in my head, but I like 1 or 2 Blade Champion more. Thanks again. Love the content. If you like the Blade Champions more, then no stops. Just take the... Oh, honestly, yeah, I agree with the person in chat that says this should be the Scouty Witch Seeker unit. I think Witch Seekers are quite good, for the record, but that's not really the direction we're going in here. Sorry. So let me just put that in. Yeah, Witch Seekers are 50 for 4, and they have Scout, and Flamers.
Witch Seekers.
Yep. So just do that. That is probably where I put the list. If you like the second Blade Champ more, then that's it. That's what you want. Right there, that is what you want. Thanks again. Love the content. We love you, Redrum. Thank you so much. I actually just saw The Shining for the first time like 2 weeks ago. I knew all about it. Like, I read the book before, but I had not.
He read the book. He read the book.
I read the book. I read the book. But I had just watched The Shining and Doctor Sleep, so
Yep.
appreciate the reference or whatever. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of the different lists here. What options did you like? What changes did you like? What things you disagree with or you've been having success with? Let us know in the comments. Please give us a like, subscribe to the channel. All of that massively helps, as well as tell your friends to come and join us week in, week out as we do this. If you want your list fixed, all you have to do is be a War Room member, so you can sign up on our YouTube channel, which is a tiered subscription, or you can sign up our own platform, thewarroom.vhx.tv, where there's a 3-day free trial, and you can try out all the other amazing content. Today we're releasing Eldari versus Chaos Space Marines, a top table matchup. Every week we release 3 games in the War Room, in addition to tons of other content like Jack Theory and Know Thy Enemy and many, many more. So if you want to just trial it, check out our own website in the description below, and we hope to see you in there, and you'll be able to fix you'll be able to submit your lists every single week for Fix My List.
All right.
In the future, we're going to be doing other ones. We changed it up. So this was Imperium. We're going to be doing Chaos.
It's Space Marines next week.
Space Marines next week. Xenos will be coming up. And we try and change the different people so that we have every faction represented over the course of a couple weeks. So
Should be me and John on stream next week going over 3 different Space Marine lists.
Yep, and that should be really exciting because Space Marine's brand new. Everybody's going to have their hands on the book soon. And you write in all those new Marine lists, which there's a lot of viability, a lot of variability in there.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you all next time. So long for now.
Bye-bye.